Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Franklin. I'm one of the two co-founders of the Northern California Spinal Cord Injury Foundation, also known as NorCal SCI. Welcome to today's presentation on keeping and seeking employment after a spinal cord injury. Very happy to have Josh Basile with us, and he'll join us in a couple of minutes. But let me just go over a couple of housekeeping items. So all of you have been muted in order to eliminate any kind of background noise and interference with the presentation. Throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the chat feature, and we'll have about 15 minutes time at the end to ask Josh any questions that you may have. But we will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end. The second thing is we are recording this presentation, so at any time that you feel you need to log out or jump off the presentation, feel free to do so. We'll be sending a recording of the presentation on Monday to everyone who registered, so you don't need to worry about missing out on anything. And then finally, these kinds of presentations are presented to us as an opportunity to do them by a generous grant from the RE Foundation. So we're grateful to them to allow us these types of opportunities, and obviously we're grateful to Josh to allow us to have them be here. So let me kind of get Josh's presentation fired up, and then I'll introduce Josh real quick. There you go. Okay, so Josh Basile is a quadriplegic who was injured at the C4 and 5 levels over 16 years ago. At the age of 18, he had no idea what his future would look like. But the following year, he started attending a community college, followed that by attending a four-year college, and then completed his education by going to law school and obviously completed that too. So Josh now works as a medical malpractice attorney, fighting for people who have been catastrophically injured. He also works with the United Spinal Association's Pathways to Employment program, as well as providing free one-on-one job mentoring through a website called Spinalpediacom and willingtoworkusa.com. He is married with a beautiful wife and daughter, and they all live in Maryland. So it is my pleasure and honor to introduce you to Josh. Take it away.
Thank you, Franklin. One quick note, not married yet, but working on it. Gotta change some of the laws associated with work, which I will talk a little bit more later about. But it's great to be here today. My name is Josh Basile. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, and today we're gonna be talking about pursuing and maintaining employment after a spinal cord injury. Next slide. So just a little bit more about me. C4-5 quadriplegic. I consider myself an adventure seeker, a trial attorney, founder of Spinalpedia.com, and a disability employment advocate. And basically, with all that being said, my journey is unique to me, and I want to make sure everybody understand today that your own pathway to employment should be unique for you as well. Next slide. So when it comes to our pathways to employment, you got to remember that you don't have to navigate this alone. There's so many people out there, whether it's myself, Franklin through North Cal SCI, there's mentors, family, friends. We're all part of this journey together, and you do not have to do it alone. You know, for me, my path to employment was very unique to me, and it's going to also be unique to you. Since COVID started, I've mentored over 150 spinal cord injury families just over the last 5 to 6 months about navigating employment. And every single one of them was a little bit unique. And they're unique because their physical functionalities are unique. Their support systems are unique. The state they live in is unique. Whether they have educational background or anything of the sort, wherever you're at within your employment journey, we just have to come up with a customized game plan to get you across the finish line. But I want you to know that you're not alone. One of the most important things that we're going to follow today is I'm going to be kind of taking you down my employment journey to give you an idea of how I did it, but that doesn't mean it's the way that you have to do it. I just want you to remember that. But at the end of the day, it's so important for you to be your own best advocate. Next slide. When it comes to becoming your own best advocate, this means you are the captain of the ship. This is your employment. This is your journey, your life journey. A spinal cord injury and paralysis in general, it's a long-term injury. And because of that, you got to think of it as a long-term journey that you have to navigate for many, many, many years. And if you're doing that alone, that journey is going to be a lot tougher. But if you're the captain of the ship and you allow yourself to have crewmates to back you up, friends, family, mentors, benefits counselors, you name it, along that journey, if you can have them to have your back and help you guide you in the right direction, you're going to be so much better off. It's going to be such an easier journey to get to where you need to go. Next slide. So for me, my life changed forever on August 1st, 2004. I was on a family vacation at the beach. I was in waist-high water when I turned my back to the ocean. A wave picked me up, threw me over my boogie board, and slammed me on my head. That day, I shattered my neck, and I became a C4-5 quadriplegic. Next slide. So basically, my fifth cervical vertebrae was shattered, and I lost sensation, feeling below the C4 area. I ended up going on a ventilator for the first 4 weeks. Next slide. At that time, I lost my ability to speak. I couldn't, talk to my friends, couldn't talk to my family, couldn't say anything. But after 4 weeks, I weaned off, and I decided at that moment that I would never be silenced again. That when I got my voice back, I found my voice. And I've been using it ever since with a passion and a purpose to do good and to live life. I love spinal cord injury. Definitely changes everything. It's nobody asks to have a spinal cord injury, but being able to move forward, I've found a lot of beauty in life. Next slide. And we all have to hit that reset button after our injuries. Some of the resets are a lot bigger than others, depending on your physical functionality, where you're from, at what age your injury happened, but we all have to hit the reset button. We have to relearn what life is like, what life is gonna be like. Next slide. So before my injury, I did things 1 million ways. Since my injury, I now get to do it 1 million new ways, 1 million different ways. And it still can be fun, it still can be meaningful. It's just a matter of having a willingness to try, a little creativity, and to get outside your comfort zone and see what it is that you're gonna do and how you're gonna do it. So often, I do things 10 different ways to figure out 9 different ways to not do it in the one way that I wanna do it. So being open to try and put yourself out there, there's so much life left to be lived. Next slide. One thing I do wanna say is after my injury, I learned so much from my mentors. Whenever I was able to see somebody else, whether they're at my functionality or different functionality, if they were doing something that I was not, it always kicked me in the butt to say, Josh, you can do it too. So that's why I formed Spinalpedia.com. It's my video mentoring network created in 2007. Since then, I've uploaded over 16,000 videos. Each video is broken down by physical functionality. So you put your exact movement in on the website, and you have anywhere from 500 to 1,000 mentors to show you what's possible. This is one of those things I was saying, you don't have to be alone. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. People have already figured it out. It's a matter of just figuring out how you want to do it in your own life. So Spinalpedia.com, love for you to come to the website, register, join the community, and be a part of sharing your story. Next slide. So choosing your path is up to you. As the captain of your ship, it's your choices where you go. You can go home, you can go live with adventurous wheels, you could pursue employment, you could do all three. It's up to you to choose which path you take. Next slide. So redefining your story is up to you. Focusing on what you can do rather than dwelling on what you cannot. It's the best way forward. It's just, there's so many things that I can't do since my injury. But the truth is I can do a lot more than I ever give myself credit because, physically I might not be able to do it with my own hands, but I'm able to do it with my caregivers. And my caregivers end up becoming a part of my body. They become my new hands, my new legs. And it's just a kind of a perspective I've chosen to take that, my caregivers are not, I'm not dependent on them. I'm independent, or I'm not independent, sorry. basically everything I do with my caregivers, we do it together. And I live an independent lifestyle through them. Next slide. All right, so when it comes to vocational rehabilitation, this is where I started with my employment journey. So every single state in the country has a vocational program. And a lot of the presentation today, I'm going to be going over California's programs, because so many of you guys are through the Northern California chapter. So with a vocational program, the purpose of this is to get persons with disabilities to work, to be able to get to the end goal of getting to work. So my vocational program in Maryland provides training to get me to that. They paid for my schooling. They paid for assistive technology, computers, and other things, gadgets and gizmos to allow me to operate my computer or my home. They paid for vehicle modifications. I purchased a vehicle. They paid for the modification to get it to be wheelchair accessible with a lowered floor, with a ramp, all that good stuff. They provide home modifications, work modifications when you're at work to get it so that you're ready to work. There's so many things that your vocational program can provide. It's just a matter of signing up and being able to get the most out of it. There's a lot of tips and tricks I have. A lot of people have done vocational rehabilitation, but they get very frustrated how slow it is. The key is to always be in contact with your caseworker on a weekly basis or bi-monthly basis. Send updates, say what you're doing, ask questions, always have a kind of a touch that you put forward with your caseworker so that you become on the top of the stack rather than on the bottom. Most caseworkers have over 250 clients they're serving at any given moment. And that's a lot of people to take care of. They're overworked, they're underpaid, and unless you put yourself out there in front of them, they're going to forget about you. And a lot of times people don't like their caseworkers, but what they don't know is they can simply ask for a new person. So if you have a caseworker that you don't like, you can ask a supervisor to give you a new person to take care of your case. Next slide. So one of the other things when I was going through college, a lot of people, there's disability support services. And some people think of being able to go through disability support services as a weakness. It's not. Getting accommodations that are available for you to help you is not a weakness, but a strength, because it basically provides you the ability to show your skills and talents to your professor on what you can do. It's able to basically take what information that you need to learn and get it out in front of the professor. If you need note takers, that service should be there to help you take notes. If you need your documents scanned, you can get them done. All your books can be scanned in so you can have a PDF copy to go over on your iPad, on your computer screen. If you need extra time for tests, it's so important to not feel rushed while you're taking a test if you don't have the ability to use your hands or if you're typing with your voice. And private room testing was great for me because I did type with my voice, use voice dictation software, and doing that in an open environment would have been nearly impossible. Next slide. Assistive technology has become my best friend as a quadriplegic. Technology has opened the doors so much for me, whether it's getting around in my power wheelchair or doing the internet with my voice. As fast as I can type, my computer types for me. I use a trackball mouse or a mouth stick mouse to control my computer. And all this was paid for through my vocational rehabilitative services, which is incredible service for you to tap into. Next slide. So networking outside of the classroom is just as important as inside the classroom. It's not really what you know these days, but who you know. It's a very, very tough job market. And the more that you reach out to your community, to your family, to your friends, letting them know you want to work, that you want to gain experiences. This doesn't mean that it's always an internship, or for me as a lawyer, a clerkship or an externship. It can be volunteer work. Since I started doing my vocational experiences, I've volunteered for dozens of organizations. I've taken internships. I've taken jobs where I was paid at a lower salary just to get the experience, or I did it for free. Gaining those experiences outside the classroom are so important because they teach you so much. One of my favorite bosses I ever had as an intern said, "Josh, it's more important in life to find out what you don't want to do than what you want to do." at least if you did an experience like an internship or volunteer work, and you said, you know what, this sucks, I don't want to do this, at least you don't spend the next 30 years of your life doing it. There's so much that you can learn from an experience or an internship to take you down a different path on where you want to pursue your career. Next slide. So, during law school, I ended up graduating magna cum laude from law school without ever flipping a page with my fingers. I did that through technology. I did that through hard work, grit, and a lot of sleepless nights. But the thing is, I ended up graduating near the top of my class as a high-level quadriplegic because I wanted it. It's what I signed up for, and I worked my wheels off to make it happen. And all of us can do that if we put the right time, energy, and focus into what we care about. Next slide. So right now I'm a medical malpractice attorney at the law firm of Jack H. Olander and Associates. And we take care of families across the country. My big thing is helping families that have had spinal cord injuries because I know what you're going through. I know how to build basically what it takes to take care of the costs associated with our injuries. To live life to the fullest. Money is a big difference maker when it comes to getting the vocational, the attendant care, the nursing care, all the modifications. But it's just, I love being able to take care of families because most attorneys are just nerds. I get to be an empathetic nerd. And that's one of my favorite things about being a trial attorney. And I love the career. Next slide. When it comes to the Ticket to Work program, this is where I learned kind of how to navigate my disability benefits. It was so important for me in order to maintain employment to keep my caregiving through Medicaid. My long-term care it cost a ton of money. And if I didn't get it through the state, my salary wouldn't cut it and I wouldn't be able to work. So being able to go through the Ticket to Work program, I learned about all the different options that were available for me to pursue employment with long-term care and Medicaid services, and to keep your Medicaid, to keep your Medicare. And really it was a great opportunity to get to work and to get my wheels wet while I was testing out. The Ticket to Work program provides 9 trial month work periods. As long as you're making over $920 a month, you can use your one of the trial work periods to test out working, and you won't lose your Social Security benefits. Next slide. During those 9-month period, you wouldn't lose your Social Security. So if you need to receive employment benefits counseling, you can do it through the Ticket to Work program, the WIPA program, and some state vocational programs provide it. And these can provide benefits counseling, free employment benefits counselors, if you're eligible for these unique programs. Next slide. With the Ticket to Work program, you have to be between the age of 18 and 64 and be receiving SSDI and SSI. The great thing about the Ticket to Work program, it's a little bit more full of a package when it comes to benefits counseling, because you get benefits planning and comprehensive employment supports for if you're looking to return to work, if you're about to start work, or if you are working yourself. The Ticket to Work program is an incredible program that's offered, and it's offered nationwide. Next slide. Again, one of the other programs is the WIPA program, the Work Incentives Planning and Assistance Program. This is also provided for SSDI and SSI recipients. It's open to a few more people because it doesn't really have an age restriction, and it provides actually access to persons a little bit younger than the other program as well. But if you're considering working, seeking work, or have a job offer, or currently working, this program is a great way to learn all of your benefits options so you know how to move forward and keep your Medicaid, your Medicare, whatever program it is to keep your benefits while being employed. And so often these programs are incredible because what ends up happening when you do go back to work, you end up having to communicate with Social Security about returning to work. And if you don't do it properly, they don't know that you returned to work. So you might continue working, getting a salary, and collecting the Social Security. And what ends up happening is I've had so many friends over the years that I've learned later on that they didn't report their wages. And after 2 years, 5 years, sometimes even 7 years, Social Security comes back and says, where's, you've been double collecting, we want our money back. I've known people to owe $30,000 to $70,000 back to Social Security because they were double collecting past the 9 trial month work periods. And with a benefits counselor, that's not going to happen. You won't make those mistakes. You'll be able to pursue employment with confidence. And it's so important to be able to do that so you don't have to do it with any fear. Next slide. Medicaid buy-in programs are incredible programs. Without it, I wouldn't be working today. So in my state of Maryland, 45 out of 50 states have Medicaid buy-in programs. Can you click, Franklin? There should be more words popping up. Oh, it's on a trigger. Keep clicking, click a few more times. One more time. All right, keep like 3 more times and I think I'll be good to say it. That's good there. So there's 45 out of 50 states have these programs across the country. California has it as well, which is fantastic. In 1997, the Congress passed the Balanced Budget Act, and in 1999, they passed the Ticket to Work Incentive Improvement Act, which provided legislative authorities for states to basically customize their Medicaid buy-in programs. And what it does is, in order to be in Medicaid, you basically have to be poor. But what Medicaid buy-ins do, provide workers with disabilities the ability to pay a premium to buy into Medicaid and be able to work at a higher income, higher assets. But the states basically create the income, asset, spousal inclusion rules, age requirements. And click again, Franklin. I think there's one more at the bottom. And then they set a premium that you have to pay. Some states, it's next to nothing. Other states, it creates a sliding scale. But usually they're never more than 7.5% of your income. Most states, like California, next slide, have a threshold cutoff. So it's the least amount is $20. The most you'd ever pay in a month is $250. So California's Medicaid buy-in program is not the best, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means as advocates, we can work to change the rules. So the income limit in California is 250% of the federal poverty level. If you have 0 Social Security benefits, so after the 9 trial month work period, and you get off your Social Security benefits, you can make up to almost $64,000 a year while being in the program. Unfortunately, they have one of the worst asset limits, where you only can have up to $2,000 in the bank account at any moment. But we can talk about strategies for being able to put your money aside in your home or in an ABLE account. There's different ways that we can talk where that money can be moved, where you can have it to spend on your quality of life. One of the great things California has is no age limit. So in my state, in Maryland, I'm cut off from working at 65. And I'm telling you, persons with disabilities can't be cut off from work because of the age. Their disability is expensive and they need to work until many people until the day they die, or they should have the option to work and retire whenever they see fit. California does include spousal income and assets, so in Maryland right now, I'm working with the governor to change all of our Medicaid buy-in rules so that there's no asset limits, there's no income limit, there's no age limit. And I want to cut out the spousal income and assets as well. So I'm working with the governor on making all those changes. Washington State recently did it and basically has one of the best programs in the country. And the fact that Washington State did that, I would want to let the governor of California know that as well and advocate to have a similar program as Washington State. It's fantastic, and I highly recommend you looking into more about Washington State's program. Next slide. Another great program is the 1619B program. This program is only for SSI recipients, and basically it allows you to maintain Medicaid while working. Like California, you have to have less than $2,000 in resources at any given moment. You can make up to $37,000 a year, but one of the cool things about the program is the more disabled that you are, the more of a disability you have. And based on your Medicaid expenditures and attendant care costs, it can actually increase your amount. So let's say the state spends $100,000 on you. That would likely add an extra $100,000 where you can make over 137,000. The calculations are very complex, but a benefits counselor can crunch all the numbers, and you can work really to a high amount if you have SSI, which I have a lot of friends that do that and have very, very high paying jobs with significant disabilities. Next slide. Another great thing is knowing about impairment related work expenses. So certain costs can be used to reduce gross earned income. And this is for SSDI and SSI recipients. And also it can be used on taxes. It's a great way of reducing earned income on taxes and can save you thousands of dollars in taxable income. So deductible expenses can be transportation costs, attendant care services, service animals. And these are all expenses that are out of pocket that you pay yourself. And then you can actually use it to reduce your earned income for the program to be in that 250% of the federal poverty level. So let's say you can only have $64,000, but you have $10,000 in impairment-related work expenses. That means your salary can be $74,000 because you reduced your earned income down using impairment-related work expenses. And I have tens of thousands of dollars in impairment-related work expenses a year to allow me to actually earn a little bit more than what my state's Medicaid buy-in program income threshold is. And benefits counselors can help you with all of these. And I can help you as well. Next slide. ABLE accounts. This was passed, I believe, about 5 years ago through Congress. And they're an incredible ability for persons with disabilities, whether you're working or not, to actually have some income set aside where you have control over it. So basically, it's like an independence account. It's a savings, a bank account that you have control over, that your friends, your family, you can put money into and pull out of. As long as your injury developed before the age of 26, it's a really horrible rule that they set it at 26. You can have the ability to have an ABLE account. Right now, legislation is being put through Congress to try to raise that age up to, I think, about 47 that the disability happened before. I personally don't think there should be any age limit on it, but the rules were set by the powers to be, and it'd be good to change it. But the maximum contribution you could put in per year is $15,000. And then basically you could spend that money basically on anything towards your quality of life. If you can say that it improved your quality of life for a person with disability, you can take it, which basically in my eyes is almost anything. And at any given moment, you can't have more than $100,000 in that account. But I believe you can put over $500,000 into that account in your lifetime. Next slide. One of the big things as a job mentor, the 150 families that I've mentored since COVID started, clients ask me a lot of questions. They ask about managing doctor's appointments while being at work because they take a lot of time. Attendant care at work, how do you get it? What service programs pay for that? How do I pay for it out of pocket and take impairment-related work expenses? What type of technology can I get? What is a reasonable accommodation? What can I get my employer to pay for, or what can I ask for? I can't get into the bathroom. Can I ask them to fix that? Dealing with coworkers is a big thing. A lot of people, really love their coworkers. Some really don't, and a lot of them are discriminate or do things that make you feel uncomfortable. There's ways of dealing with that, and coming up with strategies to do that is something I always talk to you about. Asking for pay raises, navigating Medicaid buy-in during job interview stage. What do I do about my disability? How do I disclose it? In job interviews, how do I get confident and prepare for those? Resume strategies. There's so much that as a job mentor I can do to work with you to get you ready for employment. Next slide. One of the most important ways that I would ask everybody here today is to fill out this survey on tinyurl.com/disabilityjobshelp. This way I can get your information and have you in my system, be able to work with you, be able to provide you with job mentoring, provide you with free benefits counseling, and it's a quick survey for me to know more about you. Next slide. So much of pursuing employment is confidence. The more confidence, the more that you believe in yourself that you can do it, the more ability that you have, the more power you have. I consider my disability, my injury, my superpower, because it helped me find my voice again. It helped me find my path. And ever since finding my voice, I've spoken louder than I ever have, whether through my voice or my wheels. I'm consistently speaking louder than I ever have. And that's confidence. It's how I see myself. It's how I believe in myself. And I really want you to believe in yourself too, because you can do it. You're not the first person to try this stuff. It is possible. It's just you have to put yourself out there. And when it comes to finding jobs, I've found people's like, I applied for 3 jobs and I never heard anything. No, that's not the way this works. You have to apply for 30 jobs, 300 jobs, because all it takes is one. The employment world's a numbers game, because you're not only competing against yourself and other persons with disabilities, you're competing with all abilities, and you have to put yourself out there and talk with your community, network with your community, and get yourself in front. Get your wheel in front of, get your wheel in the door, and then once it's open, push your way through. Next slide. So together with confidence, with pursuing employment, getting more persons with disabilities out there, we can change the disability employment narrative. Inclusion works, having people at the table and with a disability, with all abilities, is going to change the narrative. We're going to have a more powerful say in our future, in the community, and we're going to change the way the world sees paralysis. Too often I wheel down the street and I don't see enough people wheeling. And it's just, I want to see that I know it's possible, and together we can push each other in that direction. Next slide. So this is my personal information, everybody. That's my personal email. That's my cell phone number. These are the websites that you can learn more, whether if you want to go to willingtoworkusa.com, spinalpedia.com. My 501c3 nonprofit is called Determined to Heal. But I just wanted to provide you with this information so you know how to contact me on any questions you might have. Employment, life, venturous wheels, legal, you name it, just whatever you have questions about. I'm here as a resource to help you. Next slide. And now we're on the question stage. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay. Wow. It's a lot, Josh. Okay, we have a bunch of questions. So the first one is, the gentleman is asking, how does one go about asking for accommodations in a field where able-bodied individuals are the majority? I imagine this applies across just about, any field, but what do you have to say about that?
So asking for a reasonable accommodation, first thing you have to do is you have to do a disability disclosure. So in order to get an accommodation, you have to prove that you have a disability, which in the spinal cord injury community is pretty easy. So that you have to check that box off. But then the reasonable accommodation has to be one that it doesn't create an undue burden financially on the business. And as long as the business, it doesn't create an undue burden. And there's different arguments and parameters that set that forward. It's as long as it's reasonable, it should be able to put forward. And you just have to know how to make the request and put it forward in straightforward terms. You got to kind of know what you want. It's better, instead of just asking for a reasonable accommodation, coming forward with a game plan. This is what it is. This is what it costs. Do the homework for them. It makes their job so much easier to say yes. And that's what I like to advise people on how to pursue that.
Okay. Next question. Should I reveal my disability when applying?
I think it depends on the person, the job, how you don't have to disclose your disability unless you're asking for a reasonable accommodation. So you have the right to be able to say nothing about your disability during the employment process, during the interview stage, but only when you have to disclose it. Some people like disclosing it even without requesting a reasonable accommodation because they may be a little bit more confident with the reals, or maybe the job, it helps with the job to get that job with a disability. Or they just feel from a standpoint of open communication They want to be upfront and clear about where they're coming from. But at no point do you have to disclose your disability unless you're requesting a reasonable accommodation.
Do you find that there's a growing trend among companies to want to sort of purposely seek out individuals with disabilities as a way of becoming more inclusive and diverse in their workforce?
Absolutely. It's definitely a trend that a lot of businesses are pushing, especially the really, really big businesses of the world. They want to have as diverse as a workforce as they can so that they hit kind of those check boxes, but at the same time, they're learning having a diverse set of voices and experiences actually strengthens their workforce, their community, and workers with disabilities are natural problem solvers. Every day we wake up, we're having to figure out how to navigate our day. Able-bodied people don't have to think as hard as we do to get to where we want to go. We are problem solvers, and that is a very, very incredible skill and talent that we bring to the table that other people don't. And our empathetic voices, our empathetic journeys, it moves people. People say it inspires, but it does. It inspires. It empowers our coworkers to work harder, to work with us, to be more of teammates. Workers with disabilities are incredible, and we need to get out there.
Okay, great. All right, next question. Once you're on a ticket to work and working full time, at what point do you lose the opportunity to go back on SSDI?
So you do the ticket to work. If you use the 9 trial work month periods, making over $920 a month, if you stop earning income above that level, you're making income below that level, you can continue with your Social Security benefits. When you work over that, that's when you have to make the choice. Is this working for me? Do I want to continue working? And do I want to work off my Social Security benefits? The truth is that I like to do, even a lot of benefits counselors do this as well, is do a cost analysis. The truth is you can make so much more money without your Social Security benefits to go towards your quality of life. And it's a lot of people like, I don't want to lose my Social Security. I don't want to call it free money, but it's like the hours that I would have to take to earn that money, is it worth working? And most often, if you're working full time, it's 100% worth it in most situations. And if you're working part time, it depends on your hourly wage.
Okay. Next question. Someone in Arizona, I make over 100,000 a year. Is there any benefits that I can get to help with caregiver sort of expenses, I imagine?
So that depends on what state you live in. If you can be able to get into your Medicaid buyin program and the $100,000, and then being able to come up, depending on the state, some states allow you to make, there's 4 or 5 states in the country that have no income limit. So it's really depending on what state you're living in, what the parameters are of the Medicaid buyin program are. And sometimes you can use impairment-related work expenses to get yourself down to qualify for Medicaid. And the second that you qualify for Medicaid, then you can get access to their programs. So yes, it is possible. I would just have to find out what state that person lives in.
Okay. All right, next question. How much is the most that you can earn in California before you stop receiving SSI?
Before you stop receiving SSI?
Right.
I think from a substantial, gainful, I'm pretty sure it's $1,220 a month. I'm almost positive that's the amount. That's SGA limit. I think once you go over SGA, you and you're not using the trial work month periods, you'll have to end SSI benefits.
Okay. All right. Next question. This person has cerebral palsy, and she's asking, do you help people with disabilities in general? Can I use them? Okay. So you're not just a spinal cord injury.
I do not discriminate.
Okay. That's good to know. What about governmental jobs? It used to be that the federal government would have some level of preference, not you know, literally, but they would give, if two people equally qualified, one able-bodied, one disabled, that the disabled person would be sort of given preference. Is that still the case? Do you know?
Yeah, so that's through Schedule A. So if you are able to go under Schedule A with federal jobs, and you get a certification from a doctor that you meet the requirements of Schedule A, it basically, let's say there's a stack of 100 resumes, you end up becoming part of the top of that stack. And it's a clear way of distinguishing you. And the federal government has putting out mandates and really goals of employing persons with disabilities at a certain level. So Schedule A is an incredibly powerful tool to get hired by federal jobs.
Okay, good to know. Next question. What about in-home support services? How much can you earn in California before you stop receiving IHSS?
Well, it looks like if you're in the Medicaid buy-in program and you're employed, and you're single, from my understanding, you should be able to make up to around $64,000 a year, probably over that amount, because most all of us with spinal cord injuries have out-of-pocket expenses that could be categorized or classified as impairment related work expenses, and you can use that to reduce your earned income as well.
Okay. Next question, it's kind of vague. It says, any thoughts on private versus government sector jobs?
So private sector jobs are usually more lucrative. You get paid more for it, but the government jobs have a lot more security, especially in today's world with COVID and everything else. The federal government is the largest employer of persons with disabilities in the country. And the fact is having a government job also provides long-term job security, plus benefits down the road through pension or whatever it might be, in collecting benefits after you retire. So it's a cost analysis, but it's also where can you get the job. You know, not everybody has an option to choose one or over the other, but they do have different perks and different benefits to think about.
Okay. All right. One last question. Do you know the income limits for buy-in programs in California by any chance?
So that was the 250% of the federal poverty level. And if you have, so one of the things to think about, if you do have Social Security benefits and you're in the Medicaid buy-in program, those Social Security benefits are actually counted double. So if you, let's say you have $10,000 in benefits in a given year, that means it's actually considered $20,000 in income, which means the remaining amount would be your salary. But once you get rid of your Social Security benefits, then your earned income through your salary is counted at 100%. And it doesn't get doubled like an unearned income benefit. So basically by collecting Social Security benefits, even during that 9-month trial work period, you're actually kind of punished a little bit because they think of it as double. It's kind of just the way they calculate it.
Right. So Josh, when someone engages with you, what are your expectations of them?
For them to be the captain of their ship. I'm not there to want this for them. I'm there to be a resource for them, to let them know that they're not alone, to answer their questions, to let them know that they can do it with confidence, knowing that I've got their back, but they have to take charge. They've got to want it. They've got to want it more than me. Even though I want to be their cheerleader, I want to have their back, you have to take charge. You have to make the choice. Do you want this or not? And how hard are you going to work for it?
Okay. What kind of examples have you seen where things have gone wrong?
It's just many people that I work with, I tell them, I want you to just check in with me every week or every other week. And, let's continue the game plan. Let's talk about this. Let's keep the conversation going. And, sometimes, I don't hear back from people, and it's just, I'm not going to go back knocking like, where are you? How are you doing? I'm going to be there for them to stay in touch with me and for us to work together as a team. But they've got to be the one that wants it.
Okay. Very good. Those are all the questions that we have. Thank you so much. You are a powerful ambassador of the disability community. We look up to you, and we appreciate the time that you give to the rest of your community through all your volunteer work, through the Spinalpedia organization and the benefits that it provides. So thank you for taking time out of your schedule on a Friday night. We'll let you get back to your family now. And so have a good,
My last little push, Franklin.
yeah,
First, just thank you. I know whenever I have an opportunity to speak with our community, it really, this gives me so much joy, so much love to be able to help others. But I very, very much want your chapter and everybody at the table here today to know that we can change the Medicaid buy-in laws in California to be more like Washington State. Together, our wheels can turn heads in the state's capital. You can get the state legislators to see that this is holding us back to work to our full potential. We should not work with limits. We should work to the limits that we set for ourselves. And so it's so important as advocates for us to get out there and to change these rules to better our futures and better the future of others. So it can be done. Washington State did it. We're going to do it in Maryland, and I'd love for you guys to do it in California.
okay.
And my organization, Determined to Heal, Spinalpedia, I'm a board member of the National United Spinal Association. We've got your back. We want to help you change these rules.
Okay. While you were saying that, we got one last question snuck in here. This person, his mom is his caregiver, so she receives compensation through IHSS. Is that income taxable?
The income that you would get from the state?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Thank you again, Josh. Thanks, everyone. Like I said earlier, we have recorded this presentation, so we'll make it available to all of you and anyone that registered on Monday morning. You'll get it via an email from us. And again, this program was presented through a grant that we received from the RE Foundation, which we're grateful to. And we're also grateful to Josh to take time out of his personal time on a Friday night to be with us. Thank you, Josh. Thanks, everyone.
Franklin, one more thing.
Yes.
I was able to do this event today and pushing everything this month for Disability Employment Awareness Month, thanks to a grant from the Coca-Cola Foundation.
Excellent. That is true. October is a National Disability Awareness Month, everyone. So I hope Josh has motivated you, those of you that are looking into seeking employment or retaining employment. You're worried about how that's going to work out. I hope you got some benefit out of it. Josh is willing to help you with anything that you need, as long as the initiative and the motivation is there. So again, the video is going to have his contact information again available. So reach out to Josh with any additional questions. So have a good night, everyone. Have a great weekend and stay safe. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.